proudly with Angie Nixon. What we're seeing with redistricting isn't a political feud. It's a clear threat to our democracy, where we're headed as a country. Republicans are trying to pick their voters and not let the voters pick their elected representatives. That's wrong. And if we don't stand against it, we're not going to recognize the country that we leave to the next generation. In Tallahassee, thousands of children go to bed hungry. 25% of our city lives in poverty. And when we add working people just struggling to pay their bills, that number climbs to nearly half. With these maps, we don't have representation. You can't convince me that these maps are democratic. As the Republican Party stacks the Supreme Court, a court that now believes that all the power is in the hands of the state and not the people, we know we have to push back. And too often we've seen a Democratic Party that has sat on the sidelines. The same folks that would criticize Angie Nixon for taking a stand would like to convince us that they know a better way of doing it. I'm here to say that way has led to where we are today. A supermajority in the state house. A governor in a Republican Party that doesn't care about our values, that doesn't care about affordability, that doesn't care if our neighbors have a safe place to lay their head at night. We cannot continue to go down the progressive state as we did on the ballot. A $15 right is over 50%. Recreational marijuana over 50%. We are not a state that's not aware of the values. We're a state that has leaders fighting for the values we need. And then you have Angie Nixon. A fearless advocate for everyday people that was willing to put herself on the line for all of us. While everybody would wait and silently watch our rights get stripped away, Angie Nixon went straight to the governor and said, we're not going to treat the people of Florida this way. Instead of having a conversation, she was arrested. The power of the state was used to punish political dissidents. That's not a state I want to live in. That's not a country that I recognize. Today, I proudly stand with Angie Nixon. Thank you.
Up next, we have Yin Bailey, candidate for CD2.
Thank you. I'm Yin Bailey, and we are here today because democracy is worth fighting for. When Angie Nixon walked into Ron DeSantis' office and refused to leave, she wasn't breaking the system. She was fighting back against a system that was already broken. Let's be clear about what happened. The governor and his allies didn't redraw congressional maps because they wanted fair representation. They redrew them because they wanted to choose their voters instead of letting voters choose their representatives. They dismantled, erased voices, diluted the voting power of Black Floridians, and ignored the constitutional protections that were put in place to prevent these crimes. Why? Because politicians who can't win fair elections rig the system instead. They know that when people have a real choice, they demand affordable housing instead of giveaways to developers. They demand lower healthcare costs instead of tax breaks for billionaires. They demand action on insurance rates, public schools, and good-paying jobs instead of political theater. Big districts don't just determine who wins elections, they determine whose voices matter in Tallahassee and Washington. When politicians know that they don't have to answer to the voters, they stop listening. That's why so many Floridians feel ignored. It's not because they don't care enough to vote. It's because those in power have spent years trying to make their voices matter less. Angie Nixon refused to stay silent. She put her own freedom on the line because she understood that democracy isn't something we inherit forever. It is something that every generation has to defend. It is our turn. Whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or a Republican, if you care about fair maps, this should outrage you. Fair maps aren't a partisan issue. It's an American issue. No governor should be able to handpick congressional districts to protect political power. No politician should be above the Constitution. And no Floridian should ever have their voice erased because it's politically inconvenient. So today we stand with Angie. But more than that, we stand with every Floridian who deserves to be heard. We will organize, we will vote, and we will hold those in power accountable. We will not stop until every voter has equal voice, and our democracy belongs to the people, not billionaires, not politicians. I'm Yen Bailey. I'm running for Congress, and I'm looking forward to serving alongside Angie Nixon in Washington. We are bringing hope and change. Thank you. Let's keep fighting.
Thank you. Up next, we have Bryce Barnes, candidate for CD2.
While everyday Floridians are worried about their cost of groceries, the high rising of gas prices, unaffordable housing, teachers that deserve to be paid, Governor DeSantis and the legislature is worried about staffing the congressional map of President Trump because they are not passing fair policies for the people. People across the state of Florida are suffering. People like Angie Nixon, I'm proud to stand beside my friend Angie Nixon, a fellow mom. She knows she has been in this democracy fight her entire career, fighting for everyday Floridians, fighting for families for affordable housing, fighting to reduce rents, fighting for higher teacher salaries. She knows what it's like for working families, and she will continue that fight. She fought for our democracy so valiantly a few months ago, and she will continue that fight. I am proud to stand with Angie Nixon, and I'll be honored to serve with her in Washington, D.C., because families across Florida and across the 2nd Congressional District deserve people who are willing to fight on behalf of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have PJ Perez, candidate for Tallahassee City Commission C3.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out. My name is PJ Perez, and I'm running for Tallahassee City Commission C3. And I'm proud to stand with Representative Angie Nixon today. She has my full support for her candidacy as U.S. Senate. I'm a high school world history and U.S. government teacher, and this blatant act of voter disempowerment can push students to apathy or activism. Now, the Republicans want us to choose the former. Let's give them the latter. Representative Nixon proved that she's willing to make the necessary sacrifices to take the voice of this regime is trying to silence. They'd rather cry about civility than address affordability. So let's be clear. Our voting and civil rights are under attack from extreme voices of the state and federal government. Our state legislator had to ram through a hyperpartisan map because they can't stand on their ideas alone. The Trump administration is undermining vote by mail and threatening free and fair elections across this country. We can't ask our next generation to believe in institutions and be allowed to be followed out. People of conscience need to stick together, to stand up, and say no to partisan attacks against our democracy. The best thing that we can do is to vote. Learn about candidates in local and state races, and support those who stand with your values and support them today. Contact your election supervisor and make sure your status is up to date. Request a vote by mail ballot. We need as many people as possible to vote before Election Day. If we stand together, we can beat voter suppression and elect candidates like Representative Nixon, who will bring our democracy back to what we deserve as Americans. Now, that bullhorn was loud, but our voices together are going to be deafening.
Yeah. Thank you, PJ. Up next, we have community activist Trish Brown from Power Up people.
I'm Trish Brown and my pronunciary. I won't stand here. We already know it was wrong to have arrest Rep. Angie Nixon. That ain't right.
Ain't right.
Right.
Today's hearing and Rep. Angie Nixon's bravery, standing up and speaking out, willingly putting her neck on the line, reminds us of that the freedom to speak, to assemble, and to petition our government are not privileges granted by those in power. They are fundamental liberties that belong to every person and are among the cornerstones of our democracy. And every generation carries the responsibility to preserve them, strengthen them, and pass them forward. We can no longer allow the harm, the silencing, the voter suppression, gerrymandering, and whitewashing of our country, our state, our communities, and of our congressional maps. Targeting the strength and power of the Black vote, the practice keeps us oppressed and diminishes our ability to elect representatives the way we want. And every year in session, we see the decreasing legislative focus on our needs, quality housing,
Right.
quality health care,
That's right.
mental health care access, and economic equity plus. This is a death sentence to the people in my communities. Are we going to stand for this?
No, we're not.
Are we going to stand up and fight back?
Yeah.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Yeah.
The way voting districts are drawn has profound consequences for representation and public confidence. Whatever process is used, it should reflect transparency, accountability, and genuine commitment to ensuring that every community has a meaningful opportunity to be heard and represented. History has never judged a society by how comfortable it keeps those in power. History remembers whether ordinary people were still free to stand up, to speak out, and to demand that their voices be heard. The strength of democracy is not measured by how it treats those who agree. It is measured by whether it safeguards the freedoms of those who peacefully disagree, speak their conscience, and participate in civic life. Those principles belong to all of us. Today, we stand in solidarity with our families and our communities. Justice for Angie Nixon. Justice for all of us.
Thank you, Trish.
Justice for all of us.
Thank you, Trish Brown. Up next, we have Serenity Williams from Tallahassee Alert.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Today, State Representative Angie Nixon just walked out of the courtroom, and I want to be very clear as to why she was here. Rep. Nixon is not here because she broke the law. She's here because she stood up for it.
Yes.
What we are seeing occurring here today is not normal. The coming of an overly controlling and bullying government is here now in Florida. And this isn't new. This is a part of a reoccurring pattern in our history. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we are just a week away from the ratification of the 14th Amendment. In that 14th Amendment wrote the promise that no state gets to treat anyone less than equal.
Come on.
But it would be until another 100 years afterwards that we would finally give that promise teeth in the Voting Rights Amendment of 1965, where it says you cannot unfairly erase Black voters out of our political representation. Let's be honest about what this is. Arresting a peaceful protester who dares to challenge a bully and his rigged maps is straight up authoritarian, and we all need to wake up.
Yeah. Wake up.
Wake up.
While you and I are drowning in rents, skyrocketing rents, property insurance, and other everyday needs, the supermajority Republican legislature is wasting tax dollars to go after Angie for a peaceful sit-in. They care more about hoarding wealth and power for themselves than our families, and that ain't right. When Rep. Angie sat down in that office, she wasn't just protesting a map. She was leading us to action because this country and this state has unfinished business as it pertains to our real needs. Angie put her body on the line for our votes to be counted and for our right as we the people to choose who represents us. We must have our basic rights as citizens protected so we can all focus on the real problems we face. So if Angie can do that, it's no question that I can stand here this morning and stand with her. We are standing together for Florida where working people, not the ultra wealthy, finally come first. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Shaki Akbar. And, I have the privilege of representing soon-to-be Senator Nixon. Before she speaks, after standing here and kind of looking down the street, about 50 years ago, Patricia Stevens protested at the Google down in 2010, and she was arrested for it. And then shortly after that, it was her and several other family students. They chose not to bail themselves out of jail, but they sat in jail for probably about 60 to 75 days over at the fairground because there were so many of them. And them choosing to sit in jail instead of bail themselves out brought attention to what, the secret segregation and injustices that were happening right here in Tallahassee. Throughout the country, Martin Luther King wrote them a letter. They had letters throughout the country. As far as like speaking to their courage to sit there, to sit in jail, they put themselves in the line again in order for justice to be had here in Leon County throughout the country. So sitting here, looking down the street, thinking about that, thinking about Patricia Stevens too, and that same spirit and that same energy is in what we have in Angie Nixon because she doesn't take silence as an option. She doesn't take compliance as an option. She doesn't take just like kind of sit down and do as I say as an option because she knows that is not an option for her. What's going on in that Capitol, what happens in that Capitol on a day-to-day basis, as far as ignoring ordinary, as far as rigging maps in order for your party to have control, as far as not taking into account the day-to-day struggles that we have, silencing and complacency is not the answer. And Angie Nixon understands that. And understanding that she just wanted to have a conversation with who she was hired by the people of Jacksonville to have a conversation with, and that's the governor of this state. She just wanted him to explain what he was doing so she could go back and talk to the people that hired her. And to refuse to come out to talk to her doesn't make her a trespasser. To refuse to come out to talk to her doesn't mean that she's resisting instructions. And that's what we're going to fight about in this courthouse. It would have been easy for her to just kind of pay a fine and just walk away, but we want to challenge what's going on here. We want state representatives like Angie Nixon and others who are willing to fight, able to confront the governors, able to confront others who are doing things that we feel like are unlawful and unjust, and they're going to have to answer that. So that's what we did today. We set this case for trial, and so they're either going to try it, jurors of her peers, or they're going to drop the case. There's no in between. There are no other options. We're going to fight this all the way. And I am honored to represent Angie in this situation, honored to represent somebody who has the courage to stand up for not only herself, but the people that she represents. So I want to introduce our next senator and my client at this time.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you all for coming. I want to say thank you to my legal team, Attorney Akbar. I really appreciate you. You do not have to represent me, and I'm so appreciative and thank you. And thankful for you staying in 10 toes. Okay. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to those who were with me in person at the governor's office that day. And thank you to the thousands of everyday Floridians who stood by my side. Today, the state of Florida officially chose to move forward with prosecuting me for peacefully sitting in the governor's office to demand fair representation for our community. Let's call this exactly what it is. This is the weaponization of justice, of a justice system to punish political pushback. This is a coordinated, desperate attempt by Ron DeSantis to intimidate and silence anyone who dares to challenge their absolute grip on power. Yes. But let me make one thing crystal clear today. If they think the threat of a trial is going to make me back down, they picked the wrong woman. They arrested me because I refused to stay quiet, while extremist Republicans in Tallahassee forced through illegal, rigged, racist maps that were drawn on purpose to water down the power of Black voters and make sure that working class communities have no voice in our government. I sat in that office to defend your right to vote. And for that, they are treating me like a criminal. I want you all to think about the absolute hypocrisy of what is happening today. The state of Florida is spending your hard-earned tax dollars using government lawyers and tying up the court system to prosecute me for peacefully petitioning our government. Meanwhile, working families in Florida are drowning. Our property insurance is nearly 3 times higher than the national average. Corporate landlords are buying up entire neighborhoods and pricing us out of state. Renters are paying over 18% of the national average. Millions of people are struggling to afford groceries, healthcare, and childcare. Where is the state's aggressive prosecution of the insurance executives who are robbing us? Where are the charges against the corporate price gougers? Where is the urgency to fix the public schools that have deliberately starved the funding? There is none. They look the other way when corporations break the backs of working people. But you demand fair voting maps, they put you in handcuffs. The prosecution reveals a deeper, darker truth about people like Ron DeSantis, Ashley Moody, Donald Trump, and extremist Florida Republicans. They don't care about governing. They care about ruling. And they are terrified of the grassroots working class movement we are building together. I wear their attacks as a badge of honor. I knew that when we dared to disrupt the status quo, there would be a heavy price to pay. And I am willing to pay it. We are fighting against a system that protects the ultra-rich while punishing hard-working families. Yes. We are not going to be intimidated. We are going to organize harder. We are going to speak louder. And we are going to win. Yeah. We are going to win. Hard-working families in the state of Florida are going to win. And we are tired and fed up of Ron DeSantis, of Ashley Moody, and Donald Trump, who are looking out for their campaign donors and not looking out for us. Yes. And with that, I'll take questions.
I may have responded this time. I was referred to the protester. And he said about, I guess, the lack of evidence suggesting I just didn't know if you saw his there.
Yeah, you did the retweet that he posted about leaving, the ghetto, and all of that. And so what I would say is Ron DeSantis has done nothing but perform as the governor here in the state of Florida. He has not looked out for the people, the hardworking people in the state. As I stated, we are over 18% of the national average for renters here in the state. 300% more is what we pay in property insurance. We have veterans living homeless on our streets. I have teachers calling my office who are living in their cars. Ron DeSantis has 8 years, 8 years to do his job, but instead he performed because he wanted to be president of the United States. As a matter of fact, he spent over $500 million of our taxpayer dollars setting up raggedy ass tent cities down in the Everglades, which was an expensive political stunt. Which awarded his campaign donors and Donald Trump's campaign donors and Ashley Moody's campaign donors with no bid contracts. Over $200 million on porta potty. On a raggedy tent that flooded. They did not feed those people in that tent. He is the biggest performer of them all. And as a matter of fact, Donald Trump and Ashley Moody, they ain't nothing but a bunch of clowns who are using our money to get ahead. So he's performing. Yes. Yes. If I'm elected to the United States Senate, I'm going to make sure that government works for the people and not
she elected?
Time and time again, we see politicians in Washington and Tallahassee who are only doing the bidding of their campaign donors and their family and friends. Our savings accounts, if we have them, our 401ks, our Roth IRAs are being depleted. Meanwhile, we have folks like Donald Trump, whose net worth has increased by over $4 billion since he's been in office. Ashley Moody, Ron DeSantis, net worth keep going up. Their families and friends, net worths keep going up. And then we have people who are calling my office day in and day out asking, can we figure out rent assistance for them? Can we make sure that they have enough food on the table for their kids? Ron DeSantis didn't even accept money from the federal government to feed our babies during the summer. Talk about performance. That's the biggest performer I have ever seen in my life, and he's doing a horrible job. He needs to go. And as a matter of fact, all of them need to go.
Yeah.
I'll take it one step further. I shouldn't have been the one that got locked up. They should have been the ones that got locked up.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he had something to do with $10 million that went missing.
35.2.
He needs to be the one that's locked up, not me, for standing up for people and our First Amendment rights.
You heard anything from the DNC recently? Any help coming your way after some of the developments with these Senate races?
You know, I want to be clear. I am not an establishment pig. I am a pig for the people, for hardworking families here in the state of Florida. And I want to be even more clear. Republicans are a problem, but corporate Democrats are a problem.
Yeah.
And so they are colluding with one another because their vested interest is, again, their campaign donors. My vested interest is only the hardworking people here in the state of Florida. And so are the corporate Dems and the establishment, the Chuck Schumers of the world, going to support me? Absolutely not, because they know if I go to Washington, I'm going to hold not only the Republicans accountable, but I'll hold those Democrats accountable. Okay.
It's curious to be ever put that on the table and say you can find the right. It has not. We haven't brought it up. From just historically, a lot of times in protest cases, that's how you find. So we haven't many times.
Any more questions? Anything you have to say to the committee that was deciding for with the things like megaphone and everything in this year?
So incoming Speaker Sam Garrett have the audacity to formally reprimand me on the about being on the House floor, standing up to the illegal and unconstitutionally rigged map. Meanwhile, you have a sitting state representative who is on trial and civil trial because he potentially sexually assaulted his staffer. Illustrates that their priorities in the Florida House are not in order.
That's right.
Their priorities
That's right.
should be on the people of this great state.
That's right.
But instead, they want to stop dissent. They want to stop pushback that wants to hold them accountable to the needs of working families. And so I would ask incoming Speaker Garrison to do his job.
Do it.
The job that the people of the great state of Florida elected him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Help get our veterans off the street. Help ensure that our public schools are fully funded and teachers get a raise.
Yeah.
Help ensure that people don't have to steal diapers because y'all continually try to circumvent and cut the $15 minimum wage that we voted on, and y'all want to cut it down to $7.25. So do your job, Sam Garrison. All of the elected officials need to do their job and stop trying to punish hardworking people for simply just trying to stay ahead.
Right.
That's it.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Angie, Angie,
Angie, Angie,
Angie, Angie,